And I thought this was really very cheaply and poorly done. It looks like a bad horror movie. So what do you think of this one, Dave?
Oh, yeah, just cheesy and all around. I'm glad they learned their lesson quickly.
Absolutely. Number 23, using electric drums to record 5150. I love 5150. I think it's a fantastic album. The thing that really hangs me up, and I think it's well produced, I like the songwriting, everything. The only thing that hangs me up is the drums. And it's nothing against Alex. It's just, I would just love even an explanation as to why they use electric drums. Yeah, especially Alex is such an old school guy. He loves John Bonham, the big thick sound. Of course, that came back on the Fuck album in 1991. But I miss that big Alex Van Halen sound, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, he had been using them going back to like 1982, 1983. But it seemed on 5150, they really came out in the mix. He was certainly using them on the 1984 album, but it wasn't as all-empowering as it was on 5150. And it really dates the music, unfortunately.
Does. Looking back, it's now, how many years later? Was it almost 34 years later? Yeah, 34 years later. It does. It gives it that, like, dated sound. You know what I mean? I would have loved to have heard what it's like, with the real drums. Number 22 was the Van Halen brothers, and I'm assuming Michael Anthony, right? Pulling out of Cabo Wabo. I thought that was a big mistake. Had they hung in there a little longer, I think maybe it would have created a little more harmonious feelings in the band, because one of the biggest hang-ups they have with Sam is this damn Cabo Wabo thing. That's, in addition to other things, but this was a huge deal. They really felt like Sam shystered them. And it really didn't seem to be the case. Sam doesn't seem like that kind of guy, number one. And number two, it was almost sort of a stroke of luck and, some business savvy, of course, on Sam's part, that Cabo Wabo took off the way it did. Let's be honest. Sammy was definitely taking a stab in the dark there. Cabo St. Lucas was nothing. But when he bought the place and the tequila brand was a little drinky-dinky thing, and then all of a sudden everything blew up. So what do you think of this?
I think unfortunately for Sam, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately for Sam. Fortunately for Sam, unfortunately for Van Halen, Sammy turned it around after the rest of the band had divested themselves out of that investment. And unfortunately just caused a lot of bad blood.
Oh, yeah.
The whole Cabo Wabo... The whole Cabo Wabo thing. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it debacle because, it worked out well for Sam in the end,
that's true.
Right?
You're right.
The timing of Sam turning it around after everybody else had pulled out of it, which was also around the same time after Ed Loeffler had died. Like, everything was coming together, and they were just looking at Sammy with suspicious eyes.
Right. That's true.
So it's just really bad timing all around.
Absolutely. And number 21 is the 1993 live album Right Here, Right Now is not actually live. I thought that was just horrendous, especially Van Halen. They're not a pop act. They're a rock band. They play live. They don't, they're not miming it on stage. And to really just patch up the album, make it sound really clean so well, I don't know. I know a lot of bands do it. A lot of bands do it. Kiss, who has one of the biggest live albums of all time, has done it, and a lot of the live albums that you love out there are not really live. However, Eddie Trunco, he says, and this is the truth, I'll give him credit for this, the Aerosmith live bootleg album, fantastic record if you want a real accounting of live recording. Yeah, this one is... Forget it. There's nothing wrong with the album. It's just, it's not live. It's just, it's kind of fun to listen to, but it's not live. What do you think, Dave?
It was disappointing to read in Sam's book.
Yeah.
That basically Ed and Al had recorded everything, and then Sam had redone all his vocals. I'm with you. I think it should be live.
Yeah.
I also know that most live albums aren't live.
Right.
And while we're talking about the live album, let's also throw in the live DVD where Sammy's shirt changes between every shot, back and forth, right? Because they filmed it over 2 nights, and it's just a horror show to look at. So not only is the live album not live, but the live DVD, I mean, it's live, but it's not one consistent show.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Unbelievable. Number 20 is no producer for OU812, equaling a bad sounding mix. This was a huge misstep. I don't know how Warner Brothers allowed him to get away with it. And I don't know how they released the album the way it sounds, because Mikey is so low in the mix, and all it really would take is a nice remastering of that album to really bring that thing to life. I like the album, don't get me wrong. It's just, I really think that they did it a bit of a disservice by not having a full-on producer, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, because that album needs to be more than remastered. That album needs to be remixed.
Yeah, remixed, totally. Up. Yeah, absolutely. A retooling of, I mean, don't re-record. All the stuff is there. I guarantee you, if you did a nice cleaning up of that album and remixed it and remastered it, you could get a really nice sound out of that album. That's desperately needs to be done. I would almost love Jimmy Page to do it because he knows how to really remix and remaster. But no chance of that happening. Number 19 is canceled releases of readied products. Now, this is products that were ready to go and were canceled. You're looking at the Van Halen 1 box set. We've talked about that in recent times. Let's not forget the DLR era greatest hits, David Lee Roth era 78 to 84 greatest hits. The Van Halen 3 live album from Pittsburgh, The Unchained Monsters. That's the name of the bootleg, but that was originally supposed to be a live album. The 1995 pay-per-view special from Canada was supposed to be a DVD. Never came out. The 2007 live DVD, many people don't even know about this. There was supposed to be a 2007 live DVD capturing their reunion with Roth. I think it was filmed in New Jersey. Never came out. Unbelievable. What do you think, Dave?
I know, just so disappointing that all this stuff is out there ready to go, and for a variety of reasons, usually because lead singers were changing or the band was breaking up or whatever.
Yeah.
Just never came out. So frustrating as a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 18, pushing Sammy to record when he was having a baby in 1996. Or I should say his wife, Kari, was having a baby. I really thought that was incredibly insensitive, really kind of shitty on their part. I mean, the guy was flying around back and forth, and his wife is almost going into labor. They were on hiatus at that point. They had already done the Balance album, the Balance tour, and they were on downtime, and they kept pushing for that Twister soundtrack, and I don't know. I think that was an ugly and dark time, don't you think, Dave?
Oh, yeah, because they were saying things like, when I say they, I mean Ed. Well, Sam didn't want to be in the band anymore, in a band. He didn't want to work. He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to tour. He didn't want to do that. And meanwhile, the guy's like, look, my wife's pregnant. I feel, I need to stick around because she's going to have the baby any day now.
Right.
And he's in Hawaii.
Right.
And they're just like, oh, come, cut the vocal for the track. All this stuff. But that's nothing new because I think that, they did the same thing to Mikey way back in the day.
Oh, did they?
Well, I mean, they didn't care who was having kids when. I mean, Mike was obviously a father back in the day.
Right.
And, they were touring or recording or whatever.
Right. That's true.
We'll get to Mikey later.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's for sure. Number 17, too many solos in concert that are not Ed. Okay, so we all know people come in that door, part of their expectation, they want a nice Eddie Van Halen solo. That's just great. We all love that. Nothing wrong with that. He gives a nice extended solo. However, a long bass solo, a long drum solo, and then you got the Fakakta singer solo, which on Dave's behalf was like throwing swords around, talking about his dog, and then you got Sammy, who's literally doing a solo showcase in the middle of a Van Halen show. I think that, let's get some more songs going, instead of these. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's fine if Alex wanted to take a little moment here and there, or Mikey gets a little intro or something. Like, there's ways to handle it, but not like these full-out solos to the point of ridiculousness. It was getting to the point where even if you look at some of the set lists, they were so shortened because of these extended solos. I mean, what it really causes is the concerts get going and then they stop and then they get going and then they stop. It doesn't have a natural flow to it. It really keeps breaking up in between, which I don't think is cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. Too many solos, waste of time. They totally could have fit in 2 or 3 more songs from the band.
Absolutely. At least 2 or 3. Yeah, absolutely. So, number 16, Sweet 16. Okay. No follow-up to Growth, which is the teaser at the end of Women and Children First. Okay, so the you guys all know that. Here's the thing. The original plan for Growth was that it was a teaser that was supposed to lead into the next album. So the next album was supposed to open with that song using that riff, which I thought was a really cool idea. Really cool idea. I love that. What happens? They never did anything with the riff. Never did anything with the song. I tell you what would be cool. I mean, this is not going to happen in the near future. But what would have been cool, I should say, is if they used that song to make a tune with Dave when they were, doing a different kind of Truth or, anything after that. Maybe throw on a bonus track on the live album or something like that. That might have been cool. What do you think?
It would have been really cool on Fair Warning if they had started that album with the Growth riff and then somehow went into Mean Streets or something like that. Right. That would have been awesome.
Right. Now, that would have worked. Number 15. Speaking of live albums, no live album with David Lee Roth from 78 to 84. Now, I got to be honest, that was unheard of at the time. The band had 6 albums and no live album. Everybody was doing the live albums with Kiss Live and Live at Budokan with Cheap Trick and all these different big live albums coming out, and Van Halen never did it. It's incredible. It's shocking, really, to be honest. And they probably could have used one in between Diver Down in 84 because they sort of had a gap year there. It would have been a perfect spot. Plus, that tour was fantastic. They could have done the South American tour, done a live album from that set list, which they were hot as hell on that set. Right? What do you think?
Absolutely. Such a wasted opportunity. And I always remember them saying, when I say they, I mean Ed again, well, we never recorded live with Dave, which is a load of BS.
That's bullshit.
They did. A band at the peak of their powers and just another lost opportunity. And even to this day, there's still no live album with the original lineup.
Right, exactly.
During their prime.
With Mike and everything. Yeah, it's crazy. Number 14 is a constant cry from all Van Halen fans. No bonus tracks on remastered David Lee Roth era Van Halen albums. Look, we've said this 1,000 times. It's actually shocking that the record label doesn't push for it. I mean, let's be honest. Most people, when they do this, especially nowadays, they're not just adding extra tracks. They're adding bonus material in the printing. Oh my God, Def Leppard. Holy crap. Def Leppard is going out of their way for the fans with their archives. Even Guns N' Roses did it. Guns N' Roses did a huge box set for Appetite for Destruction, and Def Leppard did it for all their releases. Now they went back into their catalog, and they're doing this box set called The Early Years, where they're remastering On Through the Night and High and Dry, their first 2 albums. In addition to that, they're also adding in some live albums from back in the day, like 2 of them, where they're getting a booklet and all kinds of backstage passes and stickers. And it's incredible, the stuff that people don't think merch is happening. Merch is happening in terms of like physical product. Yeah, it's streaming and it's selling on iTunes, but they're still coming out with box sets. It's incredible. And this is, and let me tell you something, the fans are begging for them. It's unbelievable, right, Dave?
Yep, And we as Van Halen fans get Squadoo.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I'm so surprised that Warner doesn't push for it. Number 13, lucky number 13. This was one of Dave's big pushes on this list, and I was so glad that you added this, Dave. Touring in 2004